All right, well, welcome everyone. It's my absolute pleasure this morning to sit down and talk to Dr. Tae Sung Park about how he's built an international healthcare program and specifically how his innovations in selective dorsal rhizotomy really transform the care of children with cerebral palsy across the world. I do have a disclosure, and that is that I serve as the Tae Sung Park Chair of Pediatric Neurosurgery. And this is one of the achievements that's really brings me the most pride in my career. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to sit down with Dr. Park today and talk about his career. Of course, Dr. Park began in South Korea, where he started his education in undergraduate and medical school. He went on to do a residency in neurosurgery in South Korea at Yonsei University College of Medicine. Afterwards, he came to Charlottesville, Virginia, and completed another neurosurgery residency training period at the University of Virginia. He went on to do a number of different fellowships, including a Pediatric Neurosurgery fellowship at Sick Kids in Toronto. And he began his academic career actually at the University of Southern California, Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, before returning to Charlottesville, Virginia, to the University of Virginia, and then moving here to Washington University in 1989. Of course, as you know, he's held many leadership positions throughout our professional line, from the organized pediatric neurosurgery through the Board of Neurological Surgery, and even the American Board of Medical Specialties, which is all specialties, not just neurosurgery. And in that group, he held the position of Director at Large of the Board of Directors. He's accomplished a great deal in his career. We'll hear a lot about it from the clinical side today, but I just want to remind you he's an accomplished neuroscientist, having won the Javits Neuroscience Investigator Award, prestigious award from the NIH, and the Richard Wynn Prize from the Society of Neurological Surgeons, which is among our most prestigious awards in neurosurgery. We have trained over a period of his career 25 different fellows. I know it says 22, but it's 25 different fellows, including 5 division chiefs and leaders in pediatric neurosurgery. Here's just a recent photo from one of our events celebrating the so-called Tae Sung Park Society. So Dr. Park, of course, is a pioneer in pediatric neurosurgery and best known for the selective dorsal rhizotomy, which we'll talk about today. This has been featured in the popular media and is well known across the world as essentially a life-changing operation for the treatment of cerebral palsy-related spasticity. So with that, I'm going to let Dr. Park say a few words, and then we're going to sit down and talk a little bit about his career.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everybody. It's supposed to be kind of informal, and but it looks like we're very tight, rigid environment. So just if you have any questions while we're talking, you can answer. I think you should answer if you have this. So this is such a special occasion for me to speak about this, how we developed this international selective dorsal rhizotomy program. There is no such a program in the world. A surgical or medical program that attracts so many patients for so long. We attracted patients from 86 countries and over the period of 12 years. So I will just talk to you. What we learned, we celebrated this 5,000 SDR in July 2022. We were all happy, everybody smiles. Yeah. So, now how many patients we had? We had 1,626 international patients from 86 countries. And in the last 12 years, so the 50% of the patients came from 40 countries. So that's a pretty large number. And the question is how we we could get these patients and how we organize this program. That's the topic of lecture. So this is interesting, the graph. So I came here in 1989, many years before you were born. The patients were not even born at that time. And so 1990, if you really look at this is the number of patients. And this is the time selective dorsal rhizotomy was introduced to this country. And it took more than 10 years before we see some activities. So 2001. Before that, the few international patients we received, and a few less than 50 patients a year, domestic patients. Even if we were one of the few centers at that time, still we could get only small number of patients for almost 10 years. And then number increased, both domestic patients and international patients. So this is a trend. The lesson we learned is it takes a long time to have an impact. So this is the time. I can tell you, so we wrote the website. Right on it is the website. That's about 5 or 6 years before department created the department website. And the website had some impact, but it did not really kind of disseminate the information, all the necessary information, until 2010. So about 25 years, it took 25 years to see the increase in international patients. And what happened was, the Facebook was introduced at that time. And we opened the Facebook site. And Facebook at that time had about 100 million subscribers. So very, very early stage. And Facebook showed these videos of the patients, and they could communicate. The families communicate. So the first group of the patients came from UK, England, and because they speak English, they just wrote down a lot of information in Facebook and exchange. And so this happened. So 2011, 2010, we had a lot of patients, international patients. And so in addition to Facebook, we created a fixed SDL price for international patients. In other words, they pay a certain amount, a very low amount, and they come in and they receive the treatment or surgery, the outpatient therapy, everything, medical problems, surgical problems, without additional charge. We don't need to issue invoice, we do not refund, and you come in, we pay a fixed amount. The fixed amount we had is a low price. We set this up. Still, it was the highest the price for international patients. At that time, they had the kind of the system they had was the payment system was international patients. Let's say $100. Then automatically they did the deduction. So they charge $100. Then still in reality they charge, let's say $70. So this is the one, and I didn't quite understand this, and it's like some commercial product market. So we took this discounted amount and just fixed the price. Still, the amount was the highest, higher than the managed care here in the country. So we did not, 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 we change that fixed price for 12 years. And if you see this number, these are the international patients. And a little bit ups and downs. 2022, we had some drop in patients because of this economic situation in the world, and also very strong dollar in other countries. So they end up paying more. And so this is a drop. I think we'll stabilize some. Another one, the reason we had a drop was we used to take care of the Medicaid, out-of-state Medicaid patients. At the end of 2021, we removed this, we declined the Medicaid patients, out-of-state Medicaid patients. So that's another reason we had a drop. I think it will basically stabilize at this level somewhere there, about 200. And still this domestic patients referral is a drop. And the reason is the over 30 centers in the country now to offer these procedures. Amy, after she finished the fellowship, she's going to open another center in Michigan and so forth. So it's good too. But we still have the certain percent of the patients that are able to come. So that's the kind of trend we have. So how does it happen? Why the was successful? One is if you like to develop international patients, of course you should be able to offer some medical services, medical treatment so unique that cannot be that other people do. So that's the one. We developed this. Our own surgery program here. So in 1991 we did, and we can discuss more about this during when Dave asked the questions. Says SDL Facebook. I still use a Facebook. We have about 19,000 members in our Facebook. I posted on Facebook that we almost perfected the surgery, and I'm going to continue to provide do the surgery on many children in the future. You know how many people read that post? 20,000. 20,000 people read the post. So very active. Then how do we manage this? I and Deanna Walter, we are the administrators. So there are a lot of HIPAA issue and other things. One of the things we don't do in Facebook or any other is we do not criticize any surgeons. We do not post any negative one. All we do is we post our experience, our opinion, without mentioning their claim. So that's one thing. We never got into the argument with either surgeons or physical therapists, anybody. So that's one lesson we learned. We don't. Some parents ask me to comment on the treatment on their children who receive the surgery in other centers, and we don't do that. We do not comment on the patients who had the surgery in different centers. Never. We never. So that's one thing we do. Affordable fixed SDR pricing. This is the key. Now, when you develop the international program, especially in the orthopedics, some of the orthopedic surgeons like David Limbrick had international patients. Then they try to bring the patients here. The hospital gave in. This is the amount we need to charge. It's like the spine of the fusion case is $250,000, and that's let's not go to, the Saudi Arabia, from Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, they are so informed, and so if the level is high, you cannot develop the program. So to find affordable price is the key. When you like buying cars, you don't like to go to expensive cars, even if that's good. Another one is this. Experience as their staff. I cannot overemphasize this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 staffs involved in this program, in addition to residents and the fellows. Now the Deanna Walter is a physical therapist who worked with us for 18 years. 18 years. She's a physical therapy and the aspect, or receives the first evaluation form. We arrange this, answer the questions, issue the visa letters, and the numerous emails, continuous the contact. The Mindy Hammond, we worked with us for 10 years. She deals with insurance issue and the clinic schedule and many others. The Kimberly Parata. Kimberly worked with us for 3.5 years now, and she takes the first inquiry from international parents. We ask them to send the patient information form, and then Kimberly collect all these the videos and the X-rays and everything, and we review. And also she videotapes. We do the Zoom conference to follow up on patients. Zoom conference every month, and Kimberly organizes all this Zoom conference and so forth. So the Nicole Meyer. Nicole worked with us for 18 years. She's a PA, so she's first. I believe she probably has done over 2,000 rhizotomies there. So we have the more like Diane Cooper, many years, Keith, and who else? There's so there. So without this staff, basically we run this international healthcare program without help from faculty practice plan or children's hospital. We just manage the whole thing. If we try to depend on other for example, I asked the faculty practice plan, the international healthcare, and we asked them whether they can give us some information or help, and no, we don't help. So basically, we just run this whole thing. I'm sure you're just saying, if you like to develop this or something, don't depend on you work with them, but you cannot depend on the hospital, the system there. We concentrate on publication of the outcomes, and we published like 56 journal articles, and we published in this Curious. This Curious is a digital journal, and we published 10 papers in Curious. And with this paper was read, 10,000 people read this paper. And Curious provides like this: how many patients read, how many people, for example, printed the PDF file. So this is the great good decision to publish in Curious. If you try to publish in the Journal of Neurosurgery, we will not have published many papers, because it takes like 2 or 3 years to publish one paper there. So this is the Facebook site. Now the worldwide network and impact. We basically create many centers in the world. We basically assist them. For example, in England, in the UK, they have 5 centers, and 4 of them neurosurgeons came to us and learned to 2010 or so around the time. And they all do it, including the Great Ormond Street, the best children's hospital in the UK. They do it. The Germany, Hungary, the Brazil, Korea, and all of this. Now this is the Facebook network. These 16 Facebooks were created by the parents, our parents of our patients. And look at this, Romania, Slovenia, Poland, Russia. Nowadays we have many patients from Russia. Russia, we have done surgery on over 100 children. So so that's the kind of summary, a little bit of summary on that. So we can sit down and any questions before we sit down? Yes.
How do you get the idea of Facebook, to do the Facebook?
So the Facebook is we have this website, and the website visit is high. That's the highest, most popular website in the same with Children's Hospital, the website. But still, we didn't see the increase in number website. So nowadays we use website as a basic kind of information platform, and Facebook is a platform for communication. So that was one experience with that. Now, I'm sure we have to use AI. AI will disseminate this information. So one thing I did was this. AI will capture you, for example, if you have some documents, the recognized by the system. Let's say, so the AI will not just capture everything. They will go after. And one thing they will capture the information is Wikipedia. I installed Wikipedia. So a couple of weeks ago, I went into the Wikipedia, and Wikipedia, you can edit them, as you know. You can edit them. I edit them and correct this misinformation, and I highlighted our Children's Hospital program. Just put the names there, and put my name in the Wikipedia. It was there before, but the organized this. So that kind of thing we'll have to use in the future.
So I have a few questions that I'm going to ask to just sort of go through things, but feel free to ask anything at any point. It's meant to be really conversational, so thanks. So Dr. Park, can you tell us a little bit about your professional journey from Korea to the United States and sort of how you developed?
So you know you never know what will happen in the life, never. And I never imagined I'm going to sit here this morning and talk about this rhizotomy. When we started the rhizotomy program, I never thought of international program. Anyway, so how I came here, I did while I was doing the neurosurgery, very rigorous neurosurgery program. I decided to do pediatric neurosurgery at that time, because there was no pediatric neurosurgeon in Korea. At that time, the vascular aneurysm surgery was a hot topic. They were so popular. And I thought by the time I finish all this, it's going to be too late for me to get into this vascular surgery. So that's why I decided to do the pediatric surgery. So I came to University of Virginia. Dr. John Jane, my professor, had a craniofacial program, craniofacial. So Apers, Cruzon's disease, there's massive surgery. it took like 10 hours, and all the so they were the pioneers, right? So I scrubbed all that, but that was just only part of the pediatric neurosurgery. So I told Dr. Jane, I like to do pediatric neurosurgery, pediatric. And he said, fine. He was not protective of us. And he made arrangements for me to go to Toronto. And also Toronto for a fellowship program. Then he also, I have to do 1 year general surgery. I finished the 2 neurosurgery program training, but I didn't do general surgery here in this country. And at that time, American Board of Neurological Surgery was so stiff. They didn't give me any credit. So I did 1 year pediatric general surgery residency. Basically, I was an intern in Columbus Children's Hospital, where Jeff Leonardo is now there. So I came to Charlottesville because the neurologist, Korean professor, he introduced me to Dr. J. So he's connected. Then the ref, when I was in Charlottesville, Ralph Dacey asked me to come. So Ralph called me here, including me. And he said one of the best things he did, he sent me a letter. I put the letter in the word. He said the best thing I did was to hire you. I said, yeah, that's good, you're right.
How did you become, after training in craniofacial and general pediatric neurosurgery, how did you become interested in cerebral palsy and rhizotomy?
So cerebral palsy, I was interested in when I became the faculty member at the University of Virginia. And my laboratory, the research topic was the neonatal vascular injury. And that's what I got the Javis for it. We did a fairly rigorous study. We made, for example, cranial window like this on the rats of the calvarium or even mice, and we did all the extras. So whenever I wrote any grant proposal about this neonatal brain injury, always cerebral palsy bring this problem. Cerebral palsy, mental retardation, epilepsy. Those are the topics. So around that time, 1986, a friend of mine from South Africa, the Warren Peacock, he introduced this to this country, 1986. He was in South Africa, Cape Town. He did a number of surgeries there, and he brought the videos of the children. And I was struck by one video, still remember. The child was walking on tiptoes after surgery. The child was walking on flat. And that was very striking there. And all these happened, and there was a lot of talk about this. So I know he's a reliable guy. He's not welcome. He's a very reliable person. But I organized national conference in 1988. National. We invited everybody, to Warren Peacock and Sano and everybody, and in Charlottesville. And they were presenting their experience. And it was became a public forum. So then we see, I did some rhizotomy there. I did 130 of them for over the period of 3 years. And one problem is this. We did not have any long-term data, long-term evidence. This is a serious operation. You just bring the children and cut nerves. And what I was afraid of is what will happen if there is a long-term consequence. And let's say I did 300 surgeries on children, and 150 of them came back with some incurable and these bad complications. You know, I may go to jail after this. Seriously, especially these days. There. So my professor, Dr. J, kept telling me, she doesn't say anything. He doesn't try to. He doesn't just go slowly, because people like to see you fumble on this, especially orthopedic surgeons, orthopedic surgeons especially. There. So I just went down. So I did only about 130, still the large number, and it took more than 10 years to for me to feel this is a viable procedure. And I can tell you now, there's no long-term side effects of this right now. Long-term, there's no long-term. Think about this. We have 5,000 patients we operated on. Many of them are like 30s, 40s of age there. If there is a long-term complication, they can reach me anytime. It does not. So that's one thing I'd like you to know. This is a rare. Any surgical program has no long-term side effects, serious side effects. This is a lucky. We are lucky. The long-term consequence, the reported long-term consequences, is this spinal faulty spine. So after the operation that we introduced in this country was a laminectomy from L1 to S1, and we do surgery through the one-level laminectomy there. And I think that was the one. Another one is we introduced minimally invasive orthopedic surgery after the spasticity reduced with the rhizotomy. And those are, so what happens is, if the child comes in with spasticity and deformities, like crouch knees, tiptoe walking and all that, and we do the rhizotomy and follow that with orthopedic surgery, then we can just straighten them out here. Unfortunately, orthopedic surgeons at the St. Louis Children's Hospital did not was more interested in the politics, and they did not help me after some changes. Initially, we had a great relationship, but about a few years ago, there was some change in the faculty there. So we had to move this orthopedic program to Mercy, and I work with Mercy orthopedic surgeons.
You know, Dr. Park, you mentioned how there was spinal deformity from the procedure when you first started doing it with multi-level laminectomy. How did you, especially for the residents or building careers or junior faculty building careers, what was your process for saying, okay, here are the complications, this procedure is really helpful, I'm confident enough in my understanding that I can change the way the operation is done? Because really you pioneered the so-called Park procedure through a single laminectomy instead of 5 laminectomies, correct?
Yeah. So it was obvious to me, this removing this laminate from L1 to S1 on, let's say, 10 years old, 15 years old, even adult, it's not going to work. It's not. So we destabilize this the spine. So I thought we have to minimize this laminectomy. So I did the rhizotomy on spinal cord injury patients in Charlottesville, paraplegia, and paraplegic spinal cord injury, complete paraplegia. And those patients, if you cut some of the ventral roots, spasticity is gone. But the problem is they developed a muscle atrophy they get the pressure sore. And then also they can get the venous thrombosis. So that's so what I did a few, and the rehabilitation doctors came to me, don't do this surgery because of the reasons I just told you. So I stopped it. But when we are doing this, I tried to find out where is the ventrolus, where are the dorsal ventrolus and patients. I didn't have to go to the morgue to study anatomy. And I could cut ventrolus on those patients and really spasticity is gone. So I got the idea from those patients, yeah, we can possibly cut this. So the way we started with a two-level laminectomy. The L1, L2. It's a little bit, so just L1 laminectomy nowadays we do is tiny. Tiny is like 1.5 inch on 2 years. Nowadays we have no problem, it's just great. So that's how so we started 2 level. Then in a year or so we moved to 1 level. And fortunately, we had no complication from that 1 level laminectomy. So nowadays, for example, UK health care system, NHS, they funded only single level laminectomy. Our procedures, they adopted our procedures. So that's the kind of story.
Just to kind of ask a little bit more about that, how did you know, okay, I've got this. I think I have the understanding to really change the way I do it. Because that really defined the field, right? That's the way everybody does it now, sort of through a minimal book. But what was that point where you said, I think I've got the anatomical knowledge to be able to do it, and how did you feel confident about that?
So it was gradually kind of happened. So I do rhizotomy in the operating room. I play golf. I dance. And all 3 of them is a movement. That's my movement, related movement. So when I do the surgery, these surgical, I told the residents, what we do is, a lot of times, I use my core if you have your core engaged, you can do very precise movements. So nowadays, so the reason I said I will perfect the surgery was, before, when I do the rhizotomy, always there's something I could have done better. So you play golf swing, something is not quite 100%. And I had always feeling there. Nowadays, after we made the improvements last year, it took like 35 years to almost perfect this. I don't feel we missed this. I don't feel that we really did it really right. So that's the kind of book.
One of the things that the residents and people who've trained with you know is that you are always embracing change and improvement. And for those of you in the audience, he oftentimes will give leadership and innovation books out. For me, the book was Who Moved My Cheese, which actually is a very straightforward management book. But basically it says, always be open to change, right?
Yeah.
And so I know that, can you tell us a little bit about your philosophy on change and innovation?
So this is what I learned from my professor, Dr. J. He told me, to stay the same, you have to change. To stay the same, you have to change. That's the lesson I learned. And it's really, really true. Even these days, it's even more true. So rapid and changing. And so the way I did was this. When I did the surgery, there was something went wrong. I mean, not the way you would want. then I always sought change. How we can do this? How can we do this change? And I like to implement change very rapidly. And it's an interesting story with the anesthesiologist. We work together there, and they work together in pain management, epidural catheter management. So we are tweaking this system, and I say we are to change it tomorrow. We are to change it in 2 days. And the anesthesiologist said, "Well, Dr. Park, can we do some research before we change this?" I said, "No. Some things you have to do is some things you don't have to do. Surgeons do not do the randomized study, double-blind randomized study to change his surgical procedures. No, never do, and you can't. So that's the kind of always change. Always. That is truly my lesson I learned from my old professor.
Related to that, there's you always encourage everybody who spends time with you to make one contribution to the rhizotomy program. It could be a publication, it could be a process improvement. I remember one time we changed the irrigation fluid, but everybody contributes. What's the role of that in terms of growing?
So like Brandon Farm is one of the examples. Brandon wanted to leave his name in our procedure. So came up with all kinds of suggestions. None of them worked out. But each resident, for example, made a suggestion, and I took it. We took it. Residents, and with many of them, many of them, residents made the suggestions. I took it, and it worked. Then we kept it. Even we put the name on it, residents' name. Some of them are bad name. Some of them say screwed up, and we put this. Anyway, so another one I'll tell you this. We do the surgery, you should over here. And I have a very tall residents. And if they have to adjust their height to me, they are going to be like this. And that'll be bad, huh? That'll be bad. So what I do is this. This is we raised the table all the way over here. All the way. So you're going to have to stoop over. You saw that. Huh? I constantly tell them. You need to change your posture during surgery. You cannot be like this. And if you do this, there's a typical surgeon's gait. Old surgeon's gait. Don't get into that. So change it now and stand up like this. And we're using the cord. Using the cord. Do you know what you mean by using the cord? Some of them may not know.
One of the things that I know many of you in the crowd have trained with Dr. Park. If you haven't yet, every bit of the surgery is choreographed. Every instrument, every device that's used has been specifically selected. The nurses in the operating room cut the various surgical materials to millimeter exactly the way it is. Everything's been considered, everything's been choreographed, and that really starts at the evaluation of the patient, the surgery, post-op therapy. The residents in the crowd know that very extremely rarely do patients sort of deviate from the set plan. And I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about how you iteratively created that and how the team supports it, the team that you built.
So that applies to all surgeries I did. All surgeries. Nurses should know what I'm going to do. They haven't worked. If nurses worked with him for a long time, they know exactly. But we have if you have this the surgeon's preference list. I believe in that. Nurses have to know
Another one is, I always try to simplify surgery procedures. Simplify. Don't try to get the complicated. Don't try to. So, for example, we had a patient at the epidural in the middle of the night. And then nurses know, and we can finish this surgery in 30 minutes. So I always look for how to simplify this whole surgical procedures. And that, on the top of that, we need to have a whole team involved in that. The nurses, the operator, they have to, everybody, assistant, everybody. So that was my one of the main thing I tried to achieve. And so the rhizotomy nowadays, because we do all the time, every week, and it's like a machine. It's like a machine out there. So I think you can do, you can also, for example, one is this. The reason I like to simplify this and finish the surgery early is, as a faculty member, academic faculty member, if you spend many hours on a case, that can be done in a few hours. You cannot do academic work. You cannot. If you are have an administrative role, you cannot participate in this. So we have to do this as many cases as possible. We have to simplify this.
Tell me a bit, you touched a little bit on it earlier, a bit about your team and the role of the team and the success of the program. You know, you talked a little bit about the evaluation and everything, but in the operating room, the thing that's impressed me about your team is, while a lot of people turned over during the pandemic, your team, as far as I know, is completely stable. And how do you keep that commitment to the rhizotomy program?
So I'm very grateful to them. I'm really grateful. Without them, there's no way we could do this. There's no way. So it's absolutely essential for all programs to have this experienced the staff. You have to cultivate this. You have to grow this. Now, when Keith Payton applied to be our nurse practitioner, I asked him, this is a long-term deal. If you are interested in leaving in a few years, don't come. Don't come. And he promised me he's not going to do that. And to do that, we have to keep him happy. You know? And Keith is very happy, as far as I know. So one is this. When I deal with this female staffs, if you hurt their feeling once, they will leave. I'm telling you. I personally experienced it. When I was young, I was just manic, and I used to raise my voice once. And about 6 months later, they came to me, Dr. Park, I'm going to move. So it's not a huge thing for people to get pissed. Minor. Jared, do you understand? Dr. Roland? Do not piss off do not just brush their feeling. Never. Never. If you use it once is enough to lose your staff. Okay, that is real residence. Another one is this. Residents, if you do really good job in clinical rotation as a resident, you do really good job as an attendant. I've never seen residents who performed poorly around rotation and all of a sudden they change, that they become the staff. No, never happened. So when Vivek and Ben, who was the nurses voluntarily wrote letters praising them. Sean is one of them. Sean is not here. And I told him, you have a great future ahead of you. Listen, you understand that, residents? You have to show you are doing a great job as a resident. Don't tell me I'm going to do a great job after I finish this residency, this darn residency. So you see all right?
We have time for a few more questions. One thing I remember is how you have been so attentive to efficiency and cost. I remember going through our surgical supplies, trying to identify the cost of each so we could attenuate or sort of mitigate the cost of our surgeries, but also the efficiency in the way we run things. I think now you would probably call that supply chain. What are your thoughts on that? Has that been effective in helping?
The supply chain, the some 5 or 6 years ago, more than 6 years ago, we examined the inventory, all the material in the cabinets. We could remove about $1 million worth of supplies from this small pediatric neurosurgery. So if we multiply by the entire department, I'm sure it's just millions of dollars there. And this is kind of a social responsibility, public, and as a citizen of healthcare there. The supply cost in the operating room on rhizotomy patients, $620. $620. We get the report these days. And once so $620. Everybody $620. So we have to save this suture material. There was nothing. It's very simplified. I think we have to be caught really do a good job in saving this. You know, it is the money to do the surgery. If you can do the surgery with the $1,000 supplies, and if you spend like $3,000, and this would waste. But this is a complicated. Turned out to be very complicated. I thought we were to all fix this in the children's hospital when I was a chief. I was just so the maniac, and I talked to the person from the BJC and presenting these, and we know the problems. So to make changes is different. It's more difficult than analyzing this. But by and large, this supply cost is being generated on each surgeon. You know that there. So you have to pay attention to that. Some private hospitals, for example, I heard in Mayo Clinic, if somebody used a lot of money to supply, the hospital come down and talk there. But I'm sure it's
if you come into the children's hospital, whether it's your personal office or in our academic office or in the patient rooms, there's there are pictures of patients everywhere. And the thing that strikes me is, many of them are with you, and the child's smile, the parent's smile, but also your smile just seems completely authentic. And I was just hoping you could comment on how you feel about the program and what you've done over the years, and the pride that it builds inside you.
Nicole knows very well. In the clinic, our clinic there, every parent wants to take a picture with me. Virtually everyone. The Russian parents, 100%, they want to take a picture with me. And I enjoy this. So we cannot have a fake smile. We really have to The smile has to come from your core. You know that? Really does. Use your core and the smile. See what your smile is like. It's really different. So a lot of times I use my core and the smile, and because that's my feeling. And I just love it. I just love this. If we go to in the rhizotomy clinic on Monday, every parent's happy. Every parent's happy. Did you see anybody who protested? No. And another one I'm going to tell you this. I have never received any letter or email from other surgeons, orthopedic surgeons or neurosurgeons or anybody, why my child, this child has not improved. Never. They never. And one of the reasons is we give them what improvements they will make. We give a prediction. We don't go cure. So that may be one of the reasons. But that's important. Huh? I was never sued. I've never sued on these patients or complaints to anyone. So that's, you know what I mean. This is great. And that's the way it should be. If we do the patient satisfaction survey, we get 98th percent. There's nobody who does not want to refer patients. No, none. None. The rhizotomy patients. So all of them, and also low supply cost, high satisfaction level, referring, and also this. We do extremely careful interaction with the patients. We are straightforward. We just tell them that. You know, we don't do any. We just straightforward, yes or no. If they behave bad, I just completely just knock them out. On the other hand, we really try to provide the best possible care to the patients. Think about this. They bring 2-year-old kids to these St. Louis from Russia. You see what I mean? So the responsibility is great. So that's thank you. We can talk all day, but if you like to talk to me all day, come back to me.
I just have one last question, then maybe if people want to stick around, they can ask a couple. I know that you really sort of are religious about how you do things throughout the day. My understanding is you start the morning working out, you do golf swings, you come to work, then you go home, have dinner, and go to dance class. And my sense is everything is regimented. And I was wondering, if you could comment, is that was it that sort of approach to life that kind of created that choreographed rhizotomy program, or is it sort of the reverse?
So I'm sure everybody has that their routine, and one of the routine is I do daily exercise every day, morning exercise. I wake up at 4 a.m. and check these emails and so forth between 4 and 5. So you will get my emails around the 4 o'clock. Then I do exercise, 1 hour to 2 hours at home, and the gym a couple of times. But the morning exercise, Greg used to come to the same gym, and morning exercise. Zach, we have used the same morning exercise. But the morning exercise I have been doing for almost 50 years, every day. I never missed any. So by the time I come to the hospital, I'm all set. I'm not recovering from this the night sleep. I'm all set. So I think this productivity really increased, because I believe that increased. Because you just spend every minute and second focused on this. So that was the one. I do a lot of a lot of activities. You know, this activity is good. Huh? You have to do, right? When I was a resident, I did a bowling exercise. When I was a resident. At least some stretching and some. Now, I spend like 2 or 3 hours sometimes. During the weekends, I spend 2 or 3 hours doing exercise, my own exercise. And so forth. But the point is this, do the exercise, residence, you will increase your productivity. And also, you will feel happy, much happier, really do. And that may be one of the reasons why I could keep all this great staff for a long time. Because I always smile at them. No? So, do the morning exercise, morning. The morning exercise worked with me. But the point is this, do the exercise. The reason I'm now 76 years old, still I can do the surgery and all these, I think it's exercise. It's also great calories. Okay, so let's not be too late.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.